I welcome you all. And although I promised a video in which we would talk about architecture, today we will exceptionally talk about the sun. This is because I also publish presentations on another site where we focus on the sun. So we'll move architecture to next time. You may be wondering why the sun. The sun is also related to flowers in Vojnich's manuscript, but we will look at the sun from the other side. Since I don't want to split this topic into two parts, today's video will be a bit longer. You see a picture of which various forms are circulating on the internet. Note the date at the bottom left. This image has been backdated and is 7 years old. We'll explain why. I only became interested in Soho images of the sun a few years ago. I was interested in the part that holds the shielding black target in the middle. I learned that it is the dark target holder in the middle of the lens. I didn't like this explanation because the texture of the center is different from the texture of the holder. If it was a holder, it would look completely different in the lens. This is how the whole situation should really look like. Notice the difference. It is interesting why the Vatican is interested in the sun. You probably know that the Vatican operates its own observatory near Rome. The observatory is called Lucifer. Many people consider the name Lucifer to be something dark. Some see the devil in it. The name Lucifer comes from Latin and can be translated as the one who makes light. Now let's watch some videos. Here we see the situation in reality. According to the date at the bottom left, these are pictures from several days. The image is flickering, but notice the holder in the upper right of the image. You can see that the holder is not static, but something is happening there. It's better to see it in slow motion. Notice also the object moving in the left part of the image. It is supposed to be Jupiter, but I think the object is rotating and has 4 long arms. A video has been circulating on the internet showing Saturn and its rings in the sky on a mobile phone. An object we're not actually supposed to see. How is that possible? You have to recognize that it is not a static object, but something that pulsates. So we will continue to work with the thesis that the Earth is a biblical mountain hidden in a pyramid. So when viewed from above, a circle, pi, in a square pool, as the Bible suggests. According to this illustration, the Earth is covered. You may have seen the clue in an earlier Simpsons episode where Springfield was covered by a glass bell. Here we see the stars, the sun and the moon, which are part of our atmosphere. But why is there a rounded shape? Imagine an octahedron, half of which is a pyramid. If you round its sides, you get an egg shape, and half of the egg is a dome. You must know this photo. It's a map of the world in the Denver airport. You see the world in a circle with 4 walls above it that are rounded. The 4 walls of the pyramid. Of course, building a rounded pyramid out of blocks of stone would certainly be challenging. Plus, The pyramid structure had to be strong and stable to last many thousands of years. Here you see the octahedron. It's actually a crystal. The top and bottom are like pyramids that mirror each other. The upper part represents our material world. The lower part belongs to the spiritual world. The Jewish star is the merging of these worlds into one world. Two separate worlds above and below. The Great Pyramid of Giza expresses all this. It looks like half of an octahedron, but the walls are split in half. Also an octahedron. The upper part belongs to the king, the sun. But the lower part belongs to the queen, the moon. There are shafts leading to the king and queen. It's a diagram of the refraction of rays from the sun and moon through the mirrors of the octahedron. The two rays refract and merge at the bottom and continue on into the depths of the earth. That's the lower chamber, but the passageway doesn't continue from there. It's forbidden territory. Let's go back to the sun. Here the holder is highlighted and you can see the interesting texture. Also note the position of the holder in the various shots. The position changes and it's not due to the rotation of the telescope. What this object really is. You may be surprised, but it is the body of a biblical serpent holding a sun disk in its mouth. The subject of many historical illustrations and architecture. The dark target in the middle does not act as a shield in the sun, but covers what is actually happening in the sun. As it says in the Bible, our eyes are blind. As you all know, it is impossible to look into the sun. It is dangerous for our eyes and we would end up seeing nothing anyway. But keep in mind that we are talking on a spiritual level. It's possible they're using infrared light to scan the sun. Infrared light is the band of light next to the spectrum of light that we can see. Digital technology can capture spiritual phenomena down on Earth. Here on YouTube there are many strange videos from security cameras, for example. We're looking at two pictures. The one on the left is from early 2017 and shows that the snake is still in place and something is moving underneath it. The second picture is from 2016 and there is something going on down there as well. Notice the difference in the position of the snake. Let's look at some illustrations. There are thousands of similar illustrations and artifacts, and we'll take a look at some of them to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Here we are looking at a snake biting its tail and wrapped around a pyramid. That is, around our Earth. The sun is trapped in the center of the pyramid and we see another eye, which may be the moon. The eye is a symbol for a spiritual being. In some illustrations, the eye is separated from the pyramid. In this case, it is probably the separation of the spirit from the world. Indeed, our world is very material, but very little spiritual. Here again we are looking at the serpent biting its tail and wrapped around the pyramid. In the middle is the sun again and we see two crossed torches like an optical refraction of two lights. The light of the sun and the light of the moon, the queen and the king in the Great Pyramid. I did not choose this picture by chance, it is a Masonic illustration. Here, A man is wrapped in a snake and stands on a chessboard. I believe that the Masonic chessboard represents a material projection of our world. Black and white, the sun and the moon, or the pixels of our matrix. The snake that captivated the egg. Symbol for rounded octahedron. The serpent holds fire in its mouth, our sun. You see, a human being is very, very small, and often it is not within our power to even understand all this. This is a fresco that survived in Pompeii. Here you see a flower instead of an egg. It may be related to the snakes we saw in Vojnich's manuscript. But that flower can also be our Earth. As you can see here in one of my videos. The continents of Atlantis were circular and centered on the continent at the North Pole. So the shape of the flower. On this stele we see the Earth as a mountain placed on a square pillar. So again, a circle in a square, a mountain in a basin. The snake is coiled around the pillar and holds something in its mouth. So our suns are two interconnected spiritual beings. The serpent that holds the sun, and the sun as a lion that gives life to the earth. And here you see a great serpent erect and three figures who probably serve him. The serpent represents the dark side of the soul, and there are many people here on earth who serve the serpent and evil. You see what is happening in the world today. Symbols are all around us, and this luxury car brand is no exception. The serpent on the cross devours the man. Yes, because the snake throws people into material bodies, into pain, and deprives them of their own will. Note the fine crown at the top. The serpent rules the world. This fresco in Egypt depicts the same situation. The people here are in the position of headless slaves, and the snake spits its poisonous saliva on them. The serpent deprives them of free will and rational thinking. It puts humanity into a deep sleep. The whole of Egypt is dedicated to the arrival of man into this world, and also to his departure to the spiritual life. And you may wonder if pharaohs even existed, and if Egypt even has a history full of pharaonic dynasties. You probably know this place too. It is the audience hall of St. Paul in the Vatican. Her depiction resembles a snake's head, and it's no accident. In the background you can see the teeth of a snake. And there is something between the teeth. People reject and condemn the sculpture, which is located in the main part of the auditorium. Some say it represents humanity's fall into hell, but believe that the snake is there on purpose to test human characters, human souls, and that the snake is really not to blame for anything. People make hell on earth. That man does not fall into hell, but flies out of the sun's protuberances. It is literally a phoenix rising from the ashes. A human being who was released from the captivity of the serpent, and this is very significant for all mankind. Before we go back to the sun, look at the pattern in the grain. There is always someone with us who gives us hints. At the beginning of 2017, there was a big event on the sun. And note that during this period, Donald Trump takes office as the President of the USA. The picture captures this situation. You could say that the sky shook and our sun appeared for a moment outside the shielding of the telescope. And also notice that something is flying out of the sun. It could be the aforementioned phoenix. We are still moving on a spiritual level, but the events are clearly visible. But what happened to the sun? He looks completely different than we know him. A black disk with a luminous hoop around it. If this is what the real sun looks like, what is this? You see, the situation is completely different. This is a plasma ball that rotates. Again, we have to look around at the Denver airport. Here in the hall there is a mosaic on the floor in the shape of 3 circular objects, the middle one of which is black. All this is Masonic work. To make it more exciting, let's look at our moon for a moment. This is a picture of a solar eclipse, but there is something wrong. A solar eclipse involves 2 objects, the sun and the moon. But we see 3 objects in the video. The sun, darkest on the smallest disk, is the moon, but what is the third circular shadow doing there? You can see in detail the energetic interaction between the sun and the moon. But that would mean the moon is much closer to the sun than science says. If the moon can interact with the sun like this and is smaller than the sun, and if both objects are moving in the atmosphere, the moon has no chance of covering the sun. But where does the shadow come from? Let's take a look at the highlighted image. A similar interaction of the moon was captured recently on a mobile phone when people recorded the changing colors of the moon. The question is, what did the moon react energetically with this time? So what really happened in early 2017? You see an image of an obscured sun with white dots around it. These white dots move very quickly, and I believe they are the Merkabahs that the Bible refers to as angels. This is the situation after the sun has momentarily been outside the shield. There are also 2 other objects that we will talk about. Around the center you see energy hoops. Some are damaged and flickering. A piece of the hoop was torn from the main damaged area. A snake was torn from these places and bit off a piece of the sun. And in the lower left corner we see a coiled snake. According to the Bible, the serpent was cast down to earth. A black sun is found here under the shading disk. Fast-flying Merkaba move in the shot. We also see one of them in the background. And where was the snake in 2017? But you have to look carefully because it's very hard to see. I highlighted the picture a bit. However, the Bible says that the angels will do battle with the serpent in heaven. This video was posted by Spaceweather as the current situation on the Sun. In fact, the serpent has not been there for 7 years, and what you see is a biblical battle of angels. Don't you believe? Let's see how they deceive you. Watch the following video carefully if you notice this. Yes, that's the grid flashing over there. The plasma spinning ball is placed in a metal, probably circular cage, and the plasma discharges interact with some points on the grid. Let's look at one more piece of evidence. In the background we see a grid that is out of focus because the camera is focused on the sphere. Watch what happens next. Did you notice that? But neither the plasma ball nor the camera turned. The metal cage turned as the plasma energy reacted with one point on the metal grid. As the cage rotated, this energy short moved with the point on the grid. And here you can see the detail of the point where the electrical short occurs. Notice how they keep pushing the size of the Earth in relation to the Sun. This is a CME chart and you see a giant eruption on the Sun that envelops our entire planet in an energy maelstrom. It is interesting that the Sun here is not as huge as they show us elsewhere. But under such a situation, we would certainly have been living in the Stone Age long ago, without the technology we have now. And here we are again looking at the current image of the sun still holding the serpent, but it has not been there for 7 years. If I was using the microphone, you'd hear me laughing right now. And what impact did this gigantic burst of energy have on our Earth? It was literally a pinky to the Middle East region. A similar situation took place recently over the territory of the USA and partly over the South American continent. Where did the rest of CMI go? NASA publishes tutorials like this all the time. They publish a comparison of the sizes of the planets. The smallest and closest to the Sun is Mercury. Earth is third. And we have some giants like Saturn and Jupiter. If the Moon cannot cover the entire Sun, where do the other objects move? How is it possible to capture them on a mobile phone? Although the world's observatories need very powerful and very expensive telescopes to do this. Think about it. And what does Google Earth show us? You can compare Earth, Moon and Mars here, where the imaging technology is at a very high level. If you zoom in on a certain place on Earth, for example where you live, you can see every detail. You can also see the mess on the street where you live. If you download Google Earth, you can use a timeline to see how different areas have changed over time. Google Earth is gradually releasing scans of some areas and real treasures are emerging. You can see them on my channel. And this is Mars. Unlike the Earth, we see patched strips of nondescript texture with craters. If you want to zoom in on a certain area, you won't see anything. NASA has many beautiful color images of Mars with strange features on its server, but you won't see them here. Why? Probably because there is nothing to scan here. You might be wondering why they don't use scanning technology on Mars. Strange formations on Mars can also be found on Earth. Some are of course graphically modified. You have already seen many of them in the videos on my channel. It is probably no coincidence that Cairo means Mars. Nostradamus also mentions flowers on Mars. Where are the flowers on Mars? The flower is our whole Earth. Our moon is in a similar situation. Again, this is an artificial construct. To keep this video from being boring, let's have some fun. Surely many of you are familiar with Saturn's moon Iapetus. It's such an interesting ball. Literally a ball of stone. It has a seam around its perimeter and Wikipedia says it is a mountain range. It bears a striking resemblance to the evil star from Star Wars. But was Iapetus really the model for an evil star? And what was the model for Iapetus? Stone balls. There are thousands of them on Earth. Many of them have a seam around the perimeter because they fell to the ground from a great height. Why? I already explained that here in an older video. Some cracked after falling or due to erosion. Also on the perimeter. Do you think NASA artists have a lot of imagination? And here is also one bad star. Don't really laugh at me. This one is located near the Bosnian pyramid, and you can see that the sphere is layered. Inside each stone sphere is a core. They are biblical hailstones. Everything that contained water on our earth turned to stone. Today we find these balls and marine fossils. But much more was fossilized. We will return to our sun one last time. Here is a shot where they covered the middle shielding target with a plasma ball. Are they kidding? In today's final illustration, we see the biblical serpent dragon biting its own tail and holding the sun. But the reals seem to be three. The black disk behind which we see only a crescent is our sun. The dragon snake sits on the ground and sprinkles it with its blood or seed. These are the snakes in the roots of the flowers in Vojnich's illustrations. Earth is winged, but it has dragon wings, and that's wrong. Earth should have angel wings because angels are born here. But angels should have radiant energy bodies. Angels have lost their wings here and are born into matter. A big event happened in 2017 and people have no idea about it. It's 2024 and look back. What happened in those 7 years? The serpent was cast down to earth and reigned here for 7 years. Pandemics, war in Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, persecution of people who have a different opinion than the system, LGBT, mutilation of children, earthquakes, floods, volcanoes, landslides, huge fires and more. The Bible warned us that we would have 7 years of tribulation. The serpent that fell from the sun brought chaos to the earth. Evil has awakened in some people. The heart has awakened in some. But a lot of people are waking up from their millennial slumber, and I hope you are too. The snake is whispering to you, it's in your head, on your TV. Turn to your heart. There is the future and there is your angel. Have a great time, and I look forward to the next part of Vojnich's manuscript with you.